Thank you, Reverend Dorsey. As they used to say sometimes, you took me home. To those early years, very meaningful years. I hope you have a chance to read what Dr. Benjamin and I wrote about the church and the fellowship of the peoples. So I will not repeat that. But what I will say is that the creation of the church for the fellowship of all peoples was an extraordinarily powerful and creative contribution to civil rights. I would say human rights. Now, one of the reasons I say this is so many years ago, people were saying that Dr. Thurman wasn't involved in civil rights. He didn't march, he didn't do all of this. Well, he was at the March of Washington. But not only that, he tutored civil rights leaders. I am one of the coordinators or team members of the National Council of Elders. And in that council, there are people who were in the civil rights movement whose lives were threatened. People who beat on doors trying to get people to come out to vote. People that stay in the houses with other people because there's no room to do hotel members to stay. And they have said, he might not have marched with us, but he gave us the reason for marching, the reason for what we were doing. He was our mentor. So we need to understand that. Now I say this because remember, this church came into being in 1944. What was going on in 1944? Worldwide? The war. World War II. And churches were totally segregated. Houses of God, totally segregated. They were a resolute part of the problem. Churches supported slavery, then segregation, and they're still virulently alive offspring. Scholar Kyle Hazelden reported in his book, The Racial Problem in Christian Perspective, that segregation of the races had its beginning in the church just as early as its emergence in secular society. H. Shelton Smith, in his book, In His Image, But Racism in Southern Religion, 1780 to 1910, wrote, it is clear that church leaders, with rare exceptions, viewed Negro bondage as compatible with the Christian faith. Nor was this notion peculiar to the South or any particular religious tradition. Howard Thurman wrote in his book, Luminous Darkness, he spoke of the failure of Christianity. If Christians practiced brotherhood among Christians, this would be one limited step in the direction of a new order among people. Think of what this would mean. Whenever one Christian met or dealt with another Christian, there would be a socially redemptive encounter. 1944. The nation was thoroughly segregated. I was not born in 44, but 2 years later. And I was born in General Hospital number 2 in Kansas City. Because I could not be born in the General Hospital. My father, who was a Baptist minister in Liberty, Missouri, there have been students, white students from William Jewell College, which is a Baptist college, who came to him asking about the Negro church and Negro issues he said, well, since I'm a Negro, they're so interested in Negro, let me apply to William J. College myself. And he was rejected. The president of the college finally came to the house and finally told the truth. At first he said it was too expensive. My father said, are we going to the GI Bill? We've got all these children. And he finally said, we can't allow you to attend. That was 1949. Interracial marriages were forbidden in the United States. I see some of these beautiful couples here, interracial and elsewhere. That could not have been possible when this church came into being. And this church was a factor in bringing that about, because interracial marriages were performed here. That is part of the history of this church in terms of dealing with religion and interracial understanding. Our services here in Fellowship Church are meant to provide the inner strength to accomplish the outer action. They are spaces where those involved in societal transformation are restored, renewed, and find courage sufficient to return again and again to the struggle for a world that reflects the meaning of the common ground, meaning of beloved community, the kingdom of God, Ma'at, Mbutu world, the fellowship of all peoples. Fellowship Church, again, was a concerted assault against the institution that upheld and sanctioned segregation. The church provided a forum for the affirmation of human rights and responsibilities. In fact, we came into being 1 year before the United Nations, and Mrs. Thurman was an unofficial delegate to the founding of the United Nations. And the church did this not by trying to integrate into some of the institutions that were already there, the racial institutions that were already there, but by energizing and implementing a vision of what church could and should be. To pick up on the definition of Harry Emerson Fawcett of faith, saying faith is what ought be, can be. And it's this vision that they had and commitment to the vision that allowed them to gather a few people together and begin this great venture in human relations, in religious cooperation and understanding. The church itself presented an alternative to the most dominating institution, system in the nation that sanctions racial segregation as morally correct. If you'll come to Fellowship Church, sometimes you'll find people from various traditions, from the Catholic tradition, many Protestant traditions, Buddhist and Jewish backgrounds, communists, and people who don't believe in God. I have been asked, well, what kind of Bible do you use? What holds such an odd mixture of people together? How do you preach in such a context? My answer is that we are all committed to social justice and we love one another. This is what molds us together. We invite you to join us in whatever way possible. We know that you cannot all attend first, third, and fifth Sundays here at the church, but we have Zoom, and we also stream our services. There are many other ways you can help us participate in our ongoing vision, because we do have vision. A vision for tomorrow. A vision that brings people together. A vision of justice and peace and harmony. A vision of a place where everyone needs their own vine and fig tree can sit and not be afraid of what might happen to them. A vision for our children so that they need not go to school afraid of what might happen to them. The vision of a healthcare system that provides for all. An income system that provides for all. And we can do that as a nation with all the resources that we have and waste in so many ways. We can bring that about. So I ask you to join us so that, in the words of Mrs. Sue Bailey Thurman, join us in moving forward so that there will be no past, our glorious past, greater than our future. Thank you.